Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the 8-Bit Adventures podcast. This is episode 332. I am your host, Sean Hayes, and we're here to bring you the latest and greatest gaming news of the past week. Bit of a weird episode this week. We only have one news topic today. There was only one news topic that really dominated the news cycle this week. A lot of the rest of the stuff just doesn't matter. I mean, there were some things like the Mario Odyssey team worked on Donkey Kong Bonanza. And it's compared to Microsoft laying off an estimated 9,000 employees, most of which are from the Xbox division, is whatever. So, and as you might suspect, we're going to be talking about those Microsoft layoffs because they impacted a ton of studios, and the big studios too, and from ones that don't make any sense. So, why don't we get right into it then? Because, yeah, it's wild, folks. So as I said, not much of an intro this week. I say Game Informer reports. Everybody reported on this. Microsoft has laid off an estimated 9,100 workers. And the Xbox division was hit particularly hard in those layoffs. The studios under the Xbox division that were impacted include The Initiative, which was working on a Perfect Dark game. That studio just closed. The entirety of it is just shut down. Rare had a bunch of projects canceled, and some layoffs. And in response, some of the folks up at the top have left the company. King doesn't make any sense. It's the makers of Candy Crush. The thing that generates billions of dollars a year in revenue. ZeniMax. So this is Bethesda, Raven Software, who does. Oh, I have to. I always get the two mixed up. It's either Battlefield or Call of Duty. I think it's Call of Duty. Turn 10 Studios and Blizzard. Blizzard in particular was the Warcraft Rumble team, so that's just done. Warcraft Rumble is effectively shut down, and Blizzard also lost whatever customer service reps were left, and sales, sales, customer service, a lot of other stuff like that. But I mean, for the Warcraft Rumble team, there were developers, artists that got let go. And I mean, unfortunately, that one's not as surprising. That game was kind of mismanaged. But it's still sad. It essentially is kind of given the Heroes of the Storm treatment now, where they'll push out, updates to keep it functioning, but no new content will be made. So yeah. So let's break this down. This is wild. Especially shutting down. And here's the thing that gets me is it was the team that was working on Elder Scrolls Online was working on another MMO type game that they had just hit another milestone in the development process. It showed real promise. And apparently the executive team seemed to really like it. And then they turned around and shut the project down. What's going on? What is going on over at Microsoft right now? This is so exceptionally frustrating. And these are all studios that are bringing in the money, right? Rare is still pumping out with Sea of Thieves. They were also working on a new project that got canned. ZeniMax, has Elder Scrolls Online. Yeah, I'm sure Skyrim is still bringing in money. But they also just did the Oblivion remaster. Raven Software, like the whole point is that like they just, churn out stuff for annual revenue. Oh, Turn 10 Studios is Forza, which is another popular franchise. That's right. Yeah. And then like Blizzard's customer service right now is not well regarded by the community. Like it's already has a bad reputation. So is this just like, oh, let's just tank its reputation even further? I don't understand. And with, like we still have a recession potentially looming. Not a great time to just cut folks. And like, and they tried to do some PR damage control of saying like, oh, it was like a fraction of a % of our workforce. And it's like, yeah, but you are a massive company, like 9,000 people, over 9,000, 9,100 people. Okay. To put this into context, where I used to live, okay, before we moved to like our new house, that town had a population of about 3,000 people. So like a small town, don't get me wrong. Like I'm not trying to inflate numbers or anything like that. Small town, but still 3 times the population of that town was let go. And it's for one of the cities in our county, it's almost the population of that city. Again, small city, not like this is, rural New England. Don't get me wrong. But it's a lot of people. Okay. And then to make matters worse, I gotta find. I found the article from The Verge. So there's an article from The Verge talking about one of the executives. Turnbull was his name. After the layoffs, took to LinkedIn and said, I would be beside myself if I didn't post any advice for post advice for those laid off. That this is a time when due to all this chaos and everything going on, you might not have the mental or physical energy to handle like applying for jobs or whatever. So you should just use AI. Like you should use language learning model AI to help write your resume and update your LinkedIn. And if you're feeling like you have imposter syndrome and need somebody to talk to, like you should just talk to an AI and remind yourself like of how good you are. That post on LinkedIn has since been deleted, but it was immediately screen capped and shared elsewhere. I think the post is still up on Blue Sky though. So yeah. And fans of the show, a couple that nerds together, posted in the chat that Microsoft does do this somewhat regularly. This is just like another round of layoffs when they have been laying off massive amounts of people. So and this is like the third time they've done it in the past year. It's just the fact that like they're even hitting cash cows is like the big concerning thing. And also they were getting in trouble before, when like they acquired Activision Blizzard King, and they specifically said like, we are not going to do any layoffs. And then within 6 months, they also like did a massive amount of layoffs from that division specifically. Like that landed them into some hot water with the FTC and the SEC. Basically, the folks who were investigating like their merger and were on the fence about whether to allow it. And I mean, we don't really hear much about Sony or Nintendo doing layoffs. I mean, there's a bit of an unusual comparison there, because Nintendo and Sony are Japanese companies. They're notorious for like workers not leaving the company. Like, that's a cultural thing where like if like people just don't leave. So like layoffs are also much rarer over there than it is here. As far as their North American divisions, I know there was a bit of a shakeup when like Nintendo had moved some offices. And there was like a bit of a shakeup there. It's also in that like for the North American teams, they're often like subcontracted out. So like QA, for instance, is all done through like a contracted agency, which had been a big thing and why people were pushing for like better benefits, because like QA teams that work for Nintendo of America, we'll say, yeah, they're actually like not quite temps, but they're hired through something similar to like a temp agency. So their employer is technically like, although they work on projects for Nintendo, their employer is technically the agency that provides them with that job. And so like they don't get the perks of being an actual Nintendo employee. And that was a thing early of last year, I believe, like early 2024. There was like a thing that came up because of that. So yeah. And it's like, there's been like some closure, like studio closures, like smaller studio closures and stuff this year. But for a while, there hasn't been a lot of like big layoff announcements like this. So that's why, and particularly the scale of it is like it filled up all of the news cycle. So just to I mean, it's like PC Gamer, The Verge. I mean, Nintendo Life is reporting on it. Bloomberg. Obviously Game Informer, IGN. Everybody was talking about it. Inc.com has an article about why the company is laying off all these people. Oh, that's right. The memo from Phil Spencer. Yeah. So we're going to pull this up. Yeah, it's just a very corporate BS. Like, oh, Xbox has never looked stronger. And, to position gaming for enduring success and allow us to focus on strategic growth, we will end or decrease work in certain areas of the business to follow Microsoft's lead in removing layers of management to increase agility and effectiveness. These decisions are not a reflection of the talent, creativity, and dedication of the people involved. And yeah, like it's hard to reconcile. Like you have record profits. Like you have projects that show promise. And that like even the executive team is like, hey, this is a great idea. Looking forward to seeing more of it. And then shutting it down soon after. This is also, I also forgot about it, coming in light of Microsoft's recent shift toward putting more resources for language learning model AIs and generative AI. So it really stings. Yeah. So which makes Turnbull's commentary all the more egregious of like, oh, hey, yeah, you should all just, talk to an AI chatbot to help you feel better about being laid off from this company. So, uh, yeah. Um, it was noted for some of the teams, like the Overwatch team made it through unscathed at Blizzard. Um, I'd imagine the World of Warcraft team made it through unscathed. But still, like, that company already has a bad rep for customer service. Since they largely moved toward an automated ticket system, like where you don't actually talk to people unless, and the big joke among the community is that you won't get an actual person unless you mention billing and subscription, because then it involves money. So like if it's bug reports, for like social issues in the game, like reporting like bad behavior among other players or griefing or whatever, you're not going to get an actual customer service agent. Again, just repeating the perception of the community is that you just get bounced around between, chatbots and automated systems until you mention money. And then, they escalate it to an actual human being. So yeah. And then let's just see the scope. Um, so yeah, just to put things in. Oh, so this is the fourth time in 18 months. So that's the actual stat there that Microsoft Gaming specifically has laid off workers. So that's not just like Microsoft in general. That is specifically the gaming division. Yeah, so they're trying to say that it's, not a majority because like it was 4% or less than 4% of the global workforce was impacted. It's like that's a really cheesy way of spinning this. So yeah, Variety was another one that got that memo. Yeah, and it's just all sorts of corporate BS. So yeah, the initiative is closing down, which was just founded in 2018 as a first party studio. The Perfect Dark game it was working on was canceled. Everwild was Rare's new IP. That's been canceled. Our portfolio strategy is unchanged. We have more than 40 projects in active development. Yeah, well, that is what constitutes as a project. I mean, like new IPs, discrete games, or are you just including like, oh, the next micro patch that comes out for World of Warcraft is a project? Yeah, King is cutting 10% of its workforce. Like that's absurd to me. Cuz like that's the moneymaker. That was the one where, under Activision Blizzard King, like Candy Crush was the one that was actually making all the money. So yeah, Raven Software, Call of Duty, yes, also impacted. The Verge was the one that reported on Turn 10 Studios with 70 people, more than 70 people laid off. So King in particular, 200 jobs were lost from King. So 1,900 employees were let go in January 2024. In May 2024, that year, they closed Arcane, Austin, Tango Gameworks, and Alpha Dog Games. They laid off employees at ZeniMax. And then, as I stated, the Warcraft Rumble team is just gone, gutted. It could be as many as 100 employees at Blizzard were let go, which, like, that's huge. And yeah, customer service and marketing. Like, when they had a 16% increase of revenue from 2023 to 2024. So, yeah, that's why this news kind of drowned everything else out. So yeah. And I was like, well, it's time to rant. So, yeah. For those who are still left at those companies, my hope is that you join with your fellow coworkers in their unionization efforts, because that will certainly help. And notably, ZeniMax and Blizzard are ones that were pushing for unionization. So, yeah. But notably, I don't think customer service and marketing were part of any of that. It was mostly like QA and developers. So, yeah. So I think we're gonna wrap things up there. Because yeah, it's just a terrible situation, and quite honestly, yeah, I don't know. Just another sort of, oh, we have to post even higher profits than last quarter. So we're going to have to cut projects that, like, in the short term cost us money because we have no foresight. So yeah, we're going to wrap things up. Let's see. I believe, just trying to check the schedule as to whether, so yes. Next week might be there might not be a live show. It might just be VOD and audio only, due to having to be away that weekend. But Goal is to still put out a show. Might be, depending on if I actually finish the game or not, might be a retrospective on Xenoblade Chronicles X if there isn't any new big news that drops. Since I am mostly finished with that game, I'm just wrapping up some post-game stuff and like the last chapter of the epilogue. So might do a retrospective on that if we need some content. So that's what we'll be doing. And otherwise, just business as usual. So thank you all for joining me and listening or watching, if you're watching live. If you would like to see more content from 8-Bit Adventures, go check out 8bitadventures.com. If you would like to help support that content, the best way to do that is to become a patron over at patreon.com/8bitadventures. Big shout out and thank you to all of my current patrons for your continued support. Our opening theme is One Up by Professor Shy Guy. You can find his work over at professorshyguy.bandcamp.com. And with that, I hope everyone stay hydrated, put your sunscreen on, stay cool, and as always, have fun, happy gaming, and enjoy your pie cake.